So congratulations.
Well, they did, and then you all
Hey, Larry.
They must be doing way too good a job.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Waukesha 175th Annual Town Meeting on April 18th, 2017, beginning at 7 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't do that. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Chairman Merrick,
Present.
Supervisor Radke,
Here.
Supervisor Durr,
Here.
Supervisor Fisher,
Here.
Supervisor Wolf.
Here. And we can move on to new officials' oath of office. Madam Clerk?
All right, we're going to start with Supervisor 2, Larry Wolf. Yeah. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Larry Wolf,
Have been elected to the office of Supervisor 2.
have been elected to the office of Supervisor 2,
Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
and will faithfully and
impartially
discharge my duties
of said office to the best of my ability.
to office to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
You think it was your first time?
I, Brian Tom Fisher,
Have been elected to the office of Supervisor 4.
have been elected to the office of Supervisor 4.
Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
You have this done, huh? Chairman Merrick. I state your name.
I, John Merrick,
Have been elected to the office of Chairman.
have been elected to the office of Chairman.
Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my
to
ability.
the best of my ability.
So help me
So help me God. And now we can approve and dispense with the reading of the minutes from the 174th annual meeting held on April 19th, 2016. Is there a motion? And a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to reports, beginning with the clerk treasurer, Kathy Nicholas.
2016 was the year of elections in the clerk treasurer's office with 4 elections, one being the presidential. It was the first year we used laptops for registering the voters. And so voters were able to fill out their registration forms at each of the polling places online. This process marks the voter as voted in the state system and doesn't allow them to vote in another location in the state. If they do vote in another location, the information is flagged to be sent to the district attorney's office. During the 2 weeks of in-office absentee voting, we used laptops that we borrowed from Gordon Flesh to enter the absentee voters into the state system as the absentee voter requested. This process is the first step toward using electronic poll books in the future when the state certifies them. Specifically for the presidential election, we had 5,643 voters, 42% voted by absentee, and of those absentee, 88% or 2,087 of them voted in the 2 weeks before the election as in-office absentees. In the last year, we have worked together with a group of clerks to work on legislation to help with in-office absentee process. This initiative will reduce the work in the office and create another level of comfort to the voters when they vote absentee. The town spent over $6,000 this year on the town credit card using the Wisconsin Purchasing Card Consortium, which makes the rebate over $8,000. The town's population census numbers for estimate for 2020 is going to go up to 9,595 in population. Poll workers are an asset, many times overlooked. We want to thank our dedicated poll workers for the work they did in 2016. And I'd like to congratulate John Merrick, Supervisor Larry Wolf, and Supervisor Brian Fisher on their reelection.
Thank you. Any questions for the clerk? And we can move on to the fire chief, Chief Buchholz.
I'm going to just highlight our report for you tonight. Membership remains relatively constant throughout the year. It's not probably a true representation of what goes on. Membership goes up and down throughout the year. So what I gave you is the beginning numbers and the end numbers. But our membership does fluctuate up and down. You'll see under this year we have a new category in the EMS field of paramedic. It's part of the program that we've been working on to move toward paramedic level service in our department. Run volume for 2016 was at 510. 337 of those were EMS calls, 68 were vehicle accidents, 105 were fire responses. Mutual aid was given 77 times and received mutual aid 44 times, plus a 47 shared paramedic response with the town of Vernon, which is part of our paramedic program or transition. We're maintaining 10 vehicles. We had 11. We sold one of our vehicles in 2016 to make way for the new tender that's coming hopefully in the next couple of months. We'll be liquidating one other truck out of here that'll go toward, so the new tanker will replace 2 vehicles, again, reducing the fleet by 1. Otherwise, vehicles and equipment has pretty much stayed the same through 2016. Fire inspections were completed in 2016, meeting all the state Department of Safety and Professional Services requirements. We got an outstanding on-site audit this year. We're going to be eligible again for our 2017 2% dues because of that. Fire inspections were 142 in the first 6-month period of 2016 and 139 in the second 6-month period. We issued no citations for fire violations. Our fire prevention program continues to grow. We have more and more requests for fire prevention activities through our department. The folks in the department did a great job of volunteering to get things handled and meet with people. We reached out to probably close to 760 preschool to 6th graders this year, 210 adults. That includes grades 7 and up to senior maturity, and 30 volunteers work together to make those programs all come about. Pancake breakfast, although successful, was a little bit down this year. We had kind of a rainy day. It wasn't the greatest weather for our event. We did serve 780 people. We raised $4,230 through pancake breakfast. Funds for that this year went to purchase a second Lucas device. It's a device to do chest compressions to aid with CPR when we're doing pulseless non-breather patients. So we now have 2 of those devices, one in each ambulance. Under growth and development, as I said, we did purchase a new tanker in 2016. It's a 3,500 gallon tanker. We'll have a match almost to the one we have. They're almost twins. That'll put 7,000 gallons of water that we'll have on wheels. Hopefully moving forward, that's going to help us in our insurance ratings and such as well. In 2016, our medical director for EMS told us that he was retiring. We transitioned to a new medical director, a very hands-on kind of medical director, Dr. Mark Schultz. Some of you may recognize the name Mark Schultz, and his family have been residents in the town of Waukesha for many years. Mark started out actually his career medicine here on the town of Waukesha Fire Department as one of our volunteers. So it's kind of nice to have somebody come back home again. Mark has been working very diligently with us to put in place our transition EMS program to paramedic. We worked very closely this year with the town of Vernon. Our state operation plan was approved as a joint venture between the town of Vernon and the town of Waukesha to provide paramedic service. We show 3 paramedics on our department right now. We have 3 more that are going to be finishing up school coming in June. So we'll have a staff of 6 paramedics here in our department. We'll share that with Vernon. Our goal is eventually to have one system between the 2 departments and share paramedics back and forth between the 2 departments. All of our other activities pretty much stay status quo. Probably the biggest thing coming in the future, we've budgeted for to add sleeping quarters to the facilities in the near future. That was put in the budget for this year. The project has been started. Architects have been sought. So the planning of that is in place and moving forward. That's going to lead to hopefully having folks here in the station, improving response times, and guaranteeing a quicker operation from our quarters here.
Thank you. Any questions for the chief? Thank you. We can move on to the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department. Deputy Moose.
All right, so for the year 2016, we responded to a total of 897 calls for service, which was a decrease from 2015. Of these calls, 67 were pertaining to 911 calls or hangups, open lines, no causes. 110 calls were taken to assist the town Waukesha Fire Department. In 2016, we issued 519 traffic citations, 32 written warnings, and 239 verbal warnings. And also, in addition, there were 24 ordinance citations issued. We responded to a total of 74 vehicle crashes. 41 involved property damage only. 12 crashes involved some sort of injury. 14 involved a type of animal, and 7 were reported as a hit and run. There were a total of 6 OWI arrests. 19 drivers were issued citations for operating while suspended or operating after revocation, and 59 incidents were reported as other traffic offenses. 27 calls for service were dispatched as an animal case. And of the total 51 property crimes reported in the town of Waukesha, 1 incident involved a burglary, 11 involved criminal damage to property, 15 involved fraud, 8 involved theft, and 16 involved trespassing. There were 6 domestic incidents dispatched in 2016, with 2 resulting in a battery complaint, which is a decrease from 3 that was reported in 2015. That's all I got.
Thank you. Any questions for the deputy?
Quick question, and I suspect you don't know the answer to this site, and that's fine, but do you have any sense of the 51 total property crimes, any sense of how many of those end up getting solved or cleared or whatever the proper terminology is. And I'm not expecting you to have that answer, but do you have a sense of that at all?
No, I can't answer that for you tonight, sorry.
That's fine. Thank you.
All right.
Anybody else? Thank you, Deputy. On to our assessor, Tyler Technologies, and we have Marty Keene here.
Thank you. This past year in 2016, the statement of assessment shows that the value of the assessment that we have for the real estate is $892,665,200. There was personal property assessments generating a value of $6,455,000 for a total assessed value in the town of $899,120,200. In my report, I also pair that up with the equalized value that's determined by the Department of Revenue. That's a value that is determined for each city, town, and village, and helps to put on par or put on the same level the assessments so that when there's a shared type of charge, like for example, WCTC, Waukesha County, it could be equally borne by the different municipalities. And we compare that to see how the assessments are performing. And it's displayed here that our assessments were around 90, just shy of 95%. The state law says that we need to be within 10% of market value, a minimum of once every 4 years. So we're definitely in compliance yet, which then begs the question, how are things moving along within the town? Taking a look, there was about a 4% increase when I look at the sales that took place in 2015 and how they compared to their assessments, and the sales in 2016 and how they compared to their assessments. The one thing that's been enlightening or been good is that we've seen the volume of sales increase. We were in a position the past few years where we only seen 60, 70, maybe 80 properties that were transpired. This past year was about 120. So that means that there's interest in the town, new construction that's here. People, it's a very desirous location. It seems to be moving along really well. For this year, the cycle, we're taking a look at having a member in the field during the week of May 1st to help me update my records. We will be only doing what's called a maintenance type of an assessment. We're going to look at the properties that have experienced changes, additions, demolitions, anomalous sales, update our records, and I'll be looking at trying to get notices to the folks come the end of May, reserving a few weeks in the middle of June to speak to anybody that has any questions. And then our final time to appeal it would be probably during the early part of July for this year. So things are moving along really well in the town. It's been a pleasure serving you. Been here since 1993, so been here a long time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions for the assessor? And we can move on. Our auditor unfortunately became ill and was unable to attend. So Madam Clerk, if you could put him on the agenda for next week, anybody that would like to hear his report, he will be available, assuming he's well, for the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Moving on to comments from the town chairman, me. First, I'd like to thank the town of Waukesha residents for the opportunity to serve this last year and for your confidence in me for the next 2 years. Last year has progress for the town of Waukesha. The town board has presented a flat budget for each of the last 3 and kept our taxes flat. And that goes along with the 5% reduction that was put in place back in 2014. With the participation of each board member and our treasurer keeping close watch on the tax dollars, we were able to once again return unspent funds to the town treasury. Through sound fiscal management, over $230,000 was returned to the town treasury this last year. The town has added additional patrol trucks for our DPW to better serve our residents. Additionally, we have a new full-time employee, Paul Sales, who joined the town of Waukesha DPW this year. Actually, this year, just recently. The fire department has ordered a new tender, as the chief had mentioned, to better serve and protect the town residents, currently being built, and as the chief mentioned, will be put into service later this year. We've begun the process of searching for an architect to help guide us through the process of additions and alterations to the town hall and property here, a larger salt storage facility, additions to our DPW to house the additional vehicles that have been purchased, and upgrades to the fire department. As the chief mentioned, one of those upgrades will be overnight quarters for firefighters and EMTs. Hopefully it'll help us attract more personnel, more qualified personnel, and retain the ones that we have along with response times. So again, I thank you for the opportunity to serve. Questions for me? Thank you. We can move on to citizens' comments and action as required by law. Any citizens' comments? Going once? Going twice? Then we can move on to set the Town of Waukesha 176th annual meeting date. Proposed Tuesday, April 17th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at the Waukesha Town Hall. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
And a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And number 9, set the date for the 2017 public hearing to present the proposed 2018 budget. That proposal is for Tuesday, November 7th, 2017 at 7 p.m. at the Waukesha Town Hall or at the notice of the town board. Is there a motion? And a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And lastly, a motion for adjournment. And a second. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you and good evening.
Very down.